Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading channel. Today we have some exciting news, and I'm kind of tired, but I wanted to share with you. Early in this year, we talked about the shop as we were deciding we're moving from Kansas, and one of the things I said is that I was not going to have any big shops like a lot of YouTubers do when they get a little bit of traction on YouTube and they buy those huge, amazing shops that no one can actually have. And I don't think that's right. So stick around today and I'm going to show you my new shop. So here it is. And it is about the same size as my garage was in Kansas, and that was the whole idea. And I will show you a little bit of select footage of the process of building it. We did build it in about 8 hours, and it is a 12 by 16. So stick around and we're going to talk about it. The material arrived in a small trailer and a truck, and as you can see here, it does not look like a lot. We first surveyed the area that we want to put the shed, and you sit down some measuring tapes to make sure that our shed will fit where we want it to be. And from that point forward, we start building. I did choose a fairly flat area in the backyard, with keeping in mind that we wanted to do the least amount of work when it comes to the foundation of the shed, but we did want to protect it from weeds coming underneath, so we did place under the shed a fabric that prevents weeds and plants growing underneath the shed, and that will allow it to last longer and have a better quality. Unfortunately, the night before our build, it had rained quite a lot, and you can see the conditions were not ideal. So our fabric also allow us to have a better foundation to build without making a total mess of ourselves. At the minimum, you should put the fabric down as we did here, and also overlap it so nothing will grow in between the pieces of fabric. This took a little bit of time, but it really worth the effort to expand it on making it right. This part of the build is the most uninteresting one, but at the same time it is also very, very important, and you must not skimp on here. The foundation of your shed will determine the overall quality of your building. Unless you have a foundation that it is concrete or stone, you must pay really close attention here, and the minimum that I will suggest to do is actually putting the fabric down. The time you spend here will pay you great dividends in the longevity of your deck and in avoiding other small maintenance that might be needed if you have growth underneath your deck that might also cause damage to your deck. So pay attention and take this step seriously and work hard to make a nice, good foundation. In our case, because of the rain the previous night, the fabric also helped us keep the site a little bit neater because it prevented the mud from underneath getting all over the pieces and all over our shoes. It is amazing how much it helped us with the build by simply putting the fabric down. Here we started building the foundation. This is pressure treated wood, and it is 4x4s that are on top of the fabric and on top of really cement blocks to add a little more strength and stability to our deck. This step is very important, and you must use a level to make sure that everything is level, otherwise your whole set will not be stable and will not look right. This is probably the most boring, but at the same time the most important step in building your set, and you must take your time and do this part right. As we were finishing, things start moving along, as you can see, and our foundation of the building start coming along very nicely. The use of a level is mandatory here. You cannot just eyeball this process. You must do it correctly, and you must make sure that your building is level in both directions, and ideally double check it and triple check it. We checked it throughout the building process until the deck was completely finished. Once we finished this step, the build moved quite faster. This process probably took about 2 hours out of the 8 hours of the total build for the set. So as you can see, it takes a substantial amount of time, but it is necessary in order to do it correctly. As you can see here, we use a lot of reinforcement on our deck, and we double up areas where our 4x4s needed to be bodied together, so we had additional strength in the structure underneath. Again, we took our time here. As you can see, we did seam under the 4x4s We wanted to make sure that everything was perfectly level, and we took a lot of time experimenting with different thickness of material to ensure that in both directions the level was totally in the middle and gave us a very sturdy foundation. I wanted to show you the detail here so you can see that we took a lot of care to make sure that there was significant strength in all the members, that they're not going to be visible, but at the same time they are critical for the strength and stability of our structure. Because the deck is going to hold a lot of tools, I wanted to make sure it was rather strong, so we use 2x6s instead of 2x4s to strengthen the floor, and we did put them in very close proximity. Here the deck has been installed, and we start building the back wall, which is usually the first wall that you build when you're building a deck. Building the wall on the floor is a very common practice, and it allows you to do this faster and allows you to make it with a greater precision because you have the exact width of the wall you want to build. We use here 2x4s instead of 1x2s that many decks use because we wanted the building to have significant strength. Additionally, building on a very flat floor allows us to make sure that our walls are built correctly and they are as straight as possible. We took care here that even though this is a set, we wanted a very straight building, and this is a good preparation if you plan to make home improvements or additions to your own house. Now with the 2x4s assembled into a wall, we start putting the exterior of the building onto the wall, and we are going to start seeing the building taking shape much quicker now. Again here, we took our time and were very careful that everything is square and everything looks good, because this now will be visible unlike the structure underneath the decking, and we want it to have a very nice, good looking building. The time you spend here will pay you great dividends as your building comes together, as everything will fit nicely and you're not going to have to make adjustments because of simple mistakes that you made here. You can also build the wall after you raise it, but in our case the wall was still light enough and small enough that we knew we could raise it to complete it. These are not grooved, so it is very critical that they overlap correctly over a stud, and as you can see we take care here to ensure that there is the right overlap. Additionally, if you do it correctly, you add substantial strength to your building, but if you do not only your building will fall apart, but also it's going to be substantially weaker. As you can clearly see, this can be a one-person operation, but of course having more people is will allow you to finish the project quicker. The wall is now finished and we're going to get ready to raise it. This is an exciting moment on your build because this is the first time that you start seeing the shape and size of your building. So celebrate here, this is the first milestone. Even though this is a small building, the wall has some substantial weight to it, and I don't know if you catch it, but right there we threw a hammer under the top 2x4 that allow us to put our fingers underneath the wall and raise it in one smooth movement. This is a nice little tip, especially if you work by yourself, so you don't have to fight to raise the wall. We were rather lucky, it was not windy at all the day that we did our build, otherwise you might have to brace this wall. In our case, we didn't have to brace the wall, and that allowed us to complete the build a little quicker, but you can also brace it even if it is not windy, if your wall feels unsteady or if you're by yourself and you want to avoid the wall falling on you. Immediately start attaching the wall to the structure and make sure that it is flush on the sides, otherwise you will have a hard time attaching the remaining walls to your building and it will generate headaches. Again, this is something you need to take your time and do it correct the first time. The same construction techniques you see here actually apply if you were to build an extension to your house, a new room or whatever. So by building a deck first, you gain the experience and possibly the strength and the confidence you need to tackle a more serious project like an addition to your house. So while the wall is up, we are making sure that everything is correctly aligned, that everything is correctly attached, and that our wall is nice and strong. Here we're taking advantage of the fact that we have more than one person working, and we have one person making sure that they assemble the wall sides and the eaves and also the overall roof structure. By finishing this ahead of time, we're really speeding up the process when we finish, and you're going to see that in a little bit how It makes it very nicely to come together, almost like a puzzle, and save us a lot of time in the end, rather than having to wait and build everything. Utilize, if you have more than one person, the people they have available to you, so you can finish quickly and have a much better project. If possible, take your time and choose your boards carefully, as having both boards in specific parts of the building can generate a lot of headaches. If you have both boards, you can use them in a specific way so that weights of the building or forces are pressing on the bow rather than allowing it to create a worse shape. Here we're starting to build the front wall that is going to have 2 windows and the big door, but we're not going to actually attach it to the subfloor until we attach the 2 side walls first, and there is a reason for that, and I think it will become obvious as you continue watching the assembly of the building. Here again you see the advantage of building our wall on our floor. It makes it easier on us, and also it allows us to see it in relationship to the building without having to constantly measure, even though we do have to use our measuring tape, since this is a much complex wall having 3 openings, the 2 windows and the door. Visualizing your wall and what you want in it, it's a great way to know exactly how you're going to build it. As you can see here, our wall has taken shape. The door opening is there, and we have one of the windows openings that you can see clearly indicated there, and now we're getting ready to install one of our 2 windows. We use good quality set windows. They are not double pane, they are single pane, but they are tempered glass, so you will avoid any injury if they break. And here is a place that you can splurge, and I certainly did, by upgrading the windows. I didn't want plastic windows, I wanted glass windows, and also they have nice screens that will allow the breeze in when I'm working in the workshop. Do not unpack your windows until you're ready to install them, as you can see here, as they are protected in the container that they are shipped, and you avoid the likelihood of actually breaking them and increase the cost of your build. Be careful when you take them off, and as soon as you remove them from the plastic of the container, make sure that you are ready to install them. These windows install in a very similar manner than windows you are going to put in your house, even though they do not need a very strong header or ledger board. However, they do have a nice screen, as I mentioned, and they have a trim over them, so after you nail them into the building, they're going to have a very nice presentation, as you're going to see in the end. When installing windows, your framing has to be about as perfect as you can make it, and as you're going to see here, the window will fit very nicely without any difficulty, because we took time and care to make sure that the opening was the appropriate size for our window. And again, it takes a lot of difficulty away if you take your time and make sure that everything is done correctly the first time. Again, this is an exciting part of your build, as windows and doors make the structure feel more like a familiar building than anything else you will ever do to the building. You see our window installed already, and now we're working on the second window that we installed the same way we installed the first one. At the same time, as you can see, we're working on the rafters that they were not pre-assembled to keep the cost down, but they're very straightforward to build with a very small and easy jig that I will probably make a separate episode to show you how to do it very easily and inexpensively. Utilizing the people that you have in your disposal will allow the build to go smoother and faster, and everyone involved will be less tired in the end. So make some good strategic planning on how you want to do things, assign roles, and then make sure that each person do what they need to do. Here we raise the wall, but as you're going to see, we're going to put it on the ground. We are not going to actually attach it to the floor. I must admit, this step made me a little nervous, as there was only one piece of wood that was holding this wall up with the 2 glass windows in it, but in the end everything worked out perfectly and we didn't have any mishaps. The reason we do the wall like that is so we can add the side walls before we attach the front wall, and that makes the assembly easier and sturdier and avoids any mistakes. With our front wall secured, we're ready now to start building the other 2 walls, the 2 side walls. Again, these walls are simple, they're the smallest in size, and they have no openings, no windows, so they're going to go fast and they're going to be assembled very easily and without any difficulty. As you can see, we're making good progress with the side walls. One is already up and the other is being built, and of course we continue working in building the rafters and the other details for the roof, including the vents and any other things that we need to add before we put the final details of the building. The side walls going quickly because they're very simple in structure and they're the smallest of the walls. As you raise more walls in your building, the rigidity of the building increases, and you will be amazed how strong this building is, even though it is a very simple construction, which by the way is not any different than a house. We're using the same material and we're using 16 off-center dimensions, so this could be any house anywhere, including any house you live in or you rent. The side walls are built in a manner identical to the way we saw you how to build the rear wall. So again, it goes quickly. As you can see, we're ready to start putting the skin of the shop right now, and that makes it go very quickly, and also it is an easy wall to put up because there is no detail that we need to do other than attaching things to the 2x4s. Again, you can see here how we utilize workstations, so we do not waste any time, and that allows us to finish the build in the fastest possible way by having people do different things at the same time and keeping material that we need already assembled for when we need to attach them into the building. And now with the walls all finished, the moment that we waited on. All the walls are going to be up momentarily as we lift the front wall up into the floor of our shop and it start taking shape. At this point it start getting exciting for me, as I could see exactly how the building will look with the 4 walls already up and ready. It is also extremely exciting to see how the rigidity of the building changes when all 4 walls are attached, and it feels extremely solid, while before we attach them you can see here it feels a little bit flimsy. However, don't be afraid, the building is very sturdy even before then and it's not going to fall apart. It is very exciting to see the building come together, and again now you start getting a sense of the size of the building and also how it's going to fit in the space. And all we did here, we didn't lose a lot of our view. In fact, we just covered some buildings that the neighbor had that you could see, and you can see a little bit. They are not really bad looking, it's just that we didn't lost any serious view by putting our building there. That was most certainly a consideration when we looked at locations of where we put our building. We did not want to look out of our window and see the other building, so we worked very carefully to decide exactly where we're going to put this building on our property that will maximize our views and the utility of the building. Another exciting step is coming up as the rafters start being placed. It is common to put the rafters upside down, so simply you rotate them and lift them up into position when you're ready to start assembling your roof. If you recall, the rafters were assembled already by one of our team members, so at this stage they were all ready to go. Here you could choose to go with a modern roof that does not have an point in the middle that the 2 pieces of the roof meet, and it is much simpler to build and has a much more gentle slope. If you live in an area with snow though, I would recommend not to go with a modern roof, but go with the classic gable roof as you can see here. I also plan to build an office in my property, and that will be a modern style building with a lot of windows, so I will show you how a modern roof is different and also how it is much easier to build, less complex, and definitely you can work on it easier if you have a difficulty or if you are older, etc. So here you see our rafters, and you're going to start seeing our roof taking shape. I really like how that simple trim makes the window looks very elegant, and it really doesn't even look like a window for a set. These were fairly inexpensive windows, but again, I did not choose the cheapest ones because I did want glass windows. I didn't want them to yellow in the sun, and I didn't want them to look really horrible in a couple of months. Again, with everything in place, this is a very exciting moment as we're ready to start seeing the shape of the roof. We're going to simply turn those rafters up, and you're going to see the nice peak of the roof, and this building now will take shape and you're going to see the height of it. And here it is, and it looks great, even though if I can say myself. And as you can see, we're putting some nice detail on the end of the roof by adding a little bit of an eave that will allow the building to look very nice and protect the sides of the building from some of the weather. And of course by eave I meant overhang, and it will be closed, so this building is actually fairly nice protected from the weather, but it has some very nice ventilation on the end of each wall, as I will show you towards the end of the video. For some reason, this is one of my favorite parts of the building process, because you start seeing the building as a building. It doesn't look like a box anymore. You see the roof, and here we start putting the deck of the roof on in preparation for putting the shingles of course, we're going to put tar paper in first. Even though this is not a very tall building, you must exercise care as you install the decking on the roof, because you could potentially fall here and really hurt yourself. So again, this is not a tall building and it's a very good exercise and training, but always be careful when you're up in any amount of height. The roof is coming along very nicely, as you can see, and the building has taken a very nice shape. The next milestone will be putting the felt paper and of course the shingles on the roof and completing the doors. This is a very exciting time as we are moving along, and this is early afternoon for us as the building is getting very ready to close. You can see here and then the white part, which is allowing the building to breathe. Very important. Do not build any building without the ability to move air, and I'm actually thinking of putting a fan there to have an active movement of air rather than just passive one. The roof is coming along, as you see, and I'm getting really excited because I can sense that we are almost done with this nice building. I'm really looking forward to get into this building and start prepping it to become an awesome workshop. I will add electricity and I will add probably some insulation. I will take you along in those trips and we'll make some really nice informational and fun videos to show you how to do those things on your own if you choose to do so. So stick around. I want to show you how you can build an affordable workshop, and at this stage it becomes incrementally more expensive, but not by far. In other words, if you go to a 16 by 18 building, you're only going to spend about 17% more in material than this building, and that is very affordable, and depending on what you want to do with the building, you can choose what size building will fit your needs best. I chose this size building because I wanted to keep it as close to the dimensions of a single car garage as I could. This of course will not be used as a garage, which is the big departure of my old shop, which was a dual purpose shop, so there will be some differences, but the space will be the same. And I want to show you that even in a reasonably small space, this shed is 12 by 16, you can have a very nice workshop that will allow you to do great work. And here, as you can see, we're getting the roofing paper ready, and as always, doing most of the work before you get up on the roof is a smart thing and a safe thing. And here we're cutting the paper before we take it up on the roof and attach it before we put the shingles on top of it. Again, this roofing process is the same process that you would use to roof a house or an extension in your house. That's why building a shed like this gives you all the basic skills and knowledge that you need to attack a bigger project as an addition to your house, or even a second floor, or even a new house that you can build yourself from scratch. So this is a great learning experiment, and it's a great way to hone in your skills and learn how to do some construction and start with something light and move to something more important. By important, I simply mean larger in scale, because the process is the same, and to me this is very important. This little building is going to keep me out of the weather for long periods of times, and I plan to have a lot of fun projects and a lot of fun times in this building. I'm even planning to do a little bit of solar experimentation. You see the roof is almost fully covered with the paper now, and we're getting very close to start shingling the unit. Again, you can see clearly that the roof is not completely built in the back side, but on the front side we're working on finishing the paper and the shingles. By doing that, again, we're cutting our time to complete the project, and we're using the manpower we have at our disposal in the most efficient way. No one said that you have to finish the roof completely before you start shingling it. So devise your workforce and do things in what makes the most logical sense. It makes sense to work on both sides at the same time. And here you can see some beautiful detail of our building. Both sides have a way to move air into the building, and this is a detail I wanted because I do not like stale smells, and a building that cannot breathe is a building that will not last long, and it will not be a pleasant building to work in. I will show you how I plan to make this a very, very comfortable building. So again, I'm going to have many series of transforming this little building into a wonderful little shop. So if this is something that you're interested in, stick around and you're going to see more. Here again, this is very exciting. We start putting the first shingle in, and you can see the other shingles on top of our roof. And inside we're working on some little details like a shelving unit, and also a little area to put some storage area. We will call it a loft, I'm not sure if that's the appropriate name, but let's call it a loft, even though it will be just storage area. What a great way to start into building construction without having to risk a lot of money or injury. You can really get your hands-on experience and see what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And that way, if you decide to do something on a bigger scale, you can decide what you want to hire out and what you really enjoy doing yourself. Building these kind of buildings gives you all the skills necessary to expand your house or to really tackle any type of building that you might wish. Here, this is really exciting. The doors are being installed in our building, and I really like these doors. They allow even more light into the building with the transom windows, and you can probably see a little bit of the detail there. We've used a ledger board to hold the doors up so they don't fall down, and we're using piano hinges rather than the traditional hinges, which allow the door to be very, very tight to the building. And it is really an amazingly simple way to build doors, and also really good looking doors overall. I was really getting excited here, as the building is just about done. We need to finish the roofing, and with the doors on, you can see how the building will look. I will need to paint it. It's not painted at this stage, and trim it, and it will look even better when we finish that process. But already you start seeing this nice building taking shape, and I hope you're enjoying this little build as I really enjoy this building today. By the way, for the record, this was built on May 26, 2020. How exciting this is, guys. I really love it. I saw you a little bit of the space, and as you can see, we did not really alter our view out of our windows in the backyard drastically. I did tack the building in one of the corners, and I chose a corner that had the least amount of interesting view, as I said, covering some of the buildings that we could see from our neighbor side. So this building did not really alter the natural look of the environment, but in the same token, it allowed me to have the shop close to the house, so I can much more easier put electricity to it and finish other details that I need to do with this. You see here a little close-up of the building. We are so close to be done. Can you sense it? This is so exciting. I cannot wait to start using this wonderful little building to continue my building experimentation and provide even more content for you guys. Sets these days are becoming very good, and this, as you can see, is a very interesting set. It has two doors. It is 12 by 16 in dimensions. It actually has two vents, one on each side of the building. It has a nice loft. That's why I couldn't show you the other side. You see it there now. It has a loft, and it has a small shelf. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that little shelf, but you know, it is okay. I might have to move it a little bit and make it a little bigger. But you can see it here. Two nice windows and a dual door. It feels very nice. I think they did a very good job constructing it. I want to show you some of the details. It has a nice metal flange there to protect it, since this will be an area that sees a lot of traffic. It has metal locks, as you can see, and a very, very nice handle. It is built, I think, very nicely. There are some things I wish they were a little better, but overall it's not bad. This is a very nice area to do some storage, and I'm thinking very seriously to do it on this side as well, unless I decide to put something taller here. I haven't decided 100% yet. It is nice and dry. It feels airy, and with the two windows, you have plenty of light in here. So I'm looking forward to making it a shop and taking you along for the journey. And here we are inside the set. I'm going to be smart on how I'm going to configure this. So we're going to make several episodes of how we transform this set into a shop. So stick with us and we're going to share with you this journey. I'm going to put power. I'm going to put some solar lighting in here. And I'm going to put power for my tools, first temporary, and then I'm going to wire it more permanently. So stick with us and we are going to have fun, I think, and some really good episodes. Feel free to let me know what you would like to see for us to make in this channel as far as set projects, which are very similar to projects relating to building a house or projects relating to making upgrades to a house. So this will be a very interesting series. We're going to unimaginatively call it the set series. We might name it something else in the future, however. So I hope you enjoyed this small reveal. And if you did, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button works as well. Share, like, subscribe, and let us know what you would like to see. From the set and the woodworking wizard, I want to wish you a great week. We're going to see you on the weekend. Take care of yourselves and farewell.